Hi.
All right, we're all set.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, January 30th, 8:02 a.m. I will call this meeting of the Board of Commissioners, Board of Harbor Commissioners for the town of LaPointe to order. With us this morning, we have Jay Wiltz. Here. Evan Erickson.
Here.
Myself, Glenn Carlson.
Here.
Via Zoom, we have Michael Collins. And
Here.
Susan Widmar.
Here.
Staff present, we have Lauren Berteau and Katie is en route. Charlie Brummer is here for the public. I guess let's open the floor to public comment. Go ahead.
Real quick, want to thank Caroline and Cal for working with us during that cold snap, making sure we got our transports and fuel over. Cal was very accommodating and easy to get a hold of even on the weekend, so I appreciate that. So big thumbs up for him and the Caroline staff. And one other comment, thinking you guys are going backwards on this, making these meetings a little more accessible for the general public. I mean, I'm usually up at 5 a.m. so I can make it here by 6, but I don't think a lot of people are going to be showing up for 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. meetings. And I honestly think this commission is probably the second most important commission in the town of LaPointe. And if you can start pulling more of your meetings in the evening hours, I think that would be better for everyone. Just my opinion. Thanks.
Shirley. Next up are the minutes of the January 16th meeting.
I move that we accept the minutes of the January 16th meeting.
I guess I'll second that. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I will move that we table agenda item 5, Chief Administrative Officer report till Katie shows up.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, 2025 tariffs.
Has anyone looked at the spreadsheet, and has any questions? We'll just start out with that.
I looked at it, it was a little overwhelming at first.
It's a lot of categories.
I have to compliment you, Evan, your spreadsheet, and I did get the electronic version of the spreadsheet and was able to play with it. Great. I think it really, even though there are, 100 some categories.
Yeah, good work, Evan, for sure. Hard work.
Yeah, I don't know, I enjoy working in Excel.
What are the highlights?
So the
That's what I
highlights
was
are. What's that, Michael?
Just one comment is the highlights are really a big help because just so much on here. At least this tells you where your eye might go first. Very helpful.
Thank you. So essentially to meet our revenue needs, we're looking at around a 12.5% increase in tariffs. Some items that are highlighted in bold are either items that are going to be staying the same. It's going to go above the 12.5% or some other change. So a lot of the freight items, deck freight, we are looking at keeping the same at $5.25. The crew hour change, we're looking at bringing to $125, or if crew needs to, if something requires extra crew time, we charge for that. In order to meet our revenue needs, we're looking at raising the adult rate for non-May card up about 20%. That's to, if you look at some of the charts, the adult ridership accounts for about 40% of our non-May card adult ridership accounts for about 40% of our revenue.
This
And-
is showing about 43%. Am I reading it right?
Yeah, so 40% last year was about adult ridership for non-MAG card, and if we do this sort of increase, it brings it up to 43%.
Oh, I get it. It's not the percent of increase, it's a percent of,
Percent
Total.
of
Percent
revenue.
of total volume, yeah.
Yeah. And if you look on the smaller page, that Glenn kind of started the foundation of figuring this out. One of the issues that we had to figure out was what percentage of ridership is MAG card and what percent of ridership for adult are non-MAG card? Because the way Miffle runs their software, it doesn't decipher that in the programming. So we had to work some charts. So if you can see here, the adult round trip percentage use was about 22% MAG card, while full fare is around 77%. And then if it's one way, it's 60% and 39%, which, you know, the numbers there are much smaller. So I don't know, does anyone have any questions or concerns? It's just it's a lot of information to take in.
No, I mean,
so what are we looking at then for, that's the rate that's on there? Adult one-way would,
The adult, let me see here. Adult one-way MAG card would go to 775. And I think we would leave that as a flat rate rather than having the variable rates throughout the week.
And that's a 6% increase.
That's a 6% increase. The, and then the non-MAG card user would be 11 and 22.
Evan?
Yeah.
Evan, yeah, that's where I think most eyes are gonna go because it's such a large percentage of the total volume. On a percentage basis, it seems it would look like a lot at 22.2% for adult round trip full fare. But actually on a dollar basis, moving from 9 to 11, I was thinking about that as to, you know, what kind of an impact would this have on potential traffic? And I think a switch from 9 to 11, never mind the 22%, which sounds like a big number, but that is not so big, in my opinion, as to inhibit visitor volume. In other words, it's a good thing.
Yeah, and the reasoning for doing this is to generate a little bit more revenue for some upcoming projects that may need to happen. And also, you know, so we have some reserve revenue in the event that we have a major issue come up.
It also distributes, as we talked about earlier, the burden of the increase won't fall as much on the frequent flyer as on visitors and other market segments. It doesn't fall on the shoulders of the MAG car holder.
And I'll just add that I think that was an effort to try not to increase the tariffs on things that are almost universally used by folks on the island. So in addition to the $5.25 thing, all of the other food-related cargo has a 0% increase, as well as propane, gasoline, and fuel oil also has a 0% increase. So that's staying at 6 cents a gallon.
And a couple other small notes to add in is we're looking to change the after hour and day special charge rate. Not that it brings in a lot of revenue, but those are expensive trips for us to run if they have to be run. So looking at bringing the after-hour special up to $1,000 and the day special to 550. A previous spreadsheet that I made shows that it costs us about, depending on the boat, ranging from about $4 to I think it was around $700 an hour to run those vessels approximately.
Is there an action we're supposed to take today?
I think we should, have a consensus from the Harbor Commission and then send these over to Miffle to have them take a look at. Just make sure that we haven't missed something big. That'd be my suggestion.
Yeah.
And then Robin will, or Robin and Cal would, handle the submission to the railroad.
I think they did that.
Yeah, they did last year, yeah.
Yeah. But Evan has, I believe, you made all the revisions in the Word document?
I didn't,
Okay.
I before I was going to, and before I started going through it and spending 2 hours changing all those rates, I wanted to make sure that these rates were approved.
Morning, Cal.
Good morning.
So, I'll move that we tentatively approve these rates pending review by Miffle LLC and then subject to the town board's approval.
I'll second that.
Are we gonna do anything with the variable rates? Go with a flat rate?
Yeah, so in here, so in order to come up with our formula, we took the variable rates and found the average rate for that. And so that is for the adult Mag card. Where are you? Here we go. It came out to about $732 is the average price that someone pays when using a Mag card. And so then we would just go to a flat rate of $775. And same thing with the vehicle. Car Mag card was average of $13.18 and we bring it to $14.25.
I think that'll end a lot of confusion.
Another thing that we didn't address, but we don't have to address now, but I think before next winter, the winter surcharge, which I've gotten a lot of feedback from folks that they feel that disproportionately penalizes the folks that live here. And so I think, when we get to that point in time, hopefully we'll have a better idea of what our revenue needs are and have delivered.
Yeah.
And whether or not we actually will need to have that winter surcharge go into effect next year.
Yep.
Do you put it in the tariff anyway and then just decide whether or not to implement?
That's, yeah,
Okay.
because it is permissive. I mean, we don't have to charge. It's just we can't charge more.
Right. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Shall we revisit Chief Administrative Officer's report? I'll move that we go back to agenda item 5.
Second.
Oh,
All
wait
in
a minute.
favor?
Aye.
All right. Oh, are you still there, Katie?
I am. I'm trying to figure out how to turn
There
my
you
food
go.
off.
Do you have any highlights for your report?
Can you guys hear me, or is
Yep,
my mute
yep.
still on? Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm like trying to figure out how to turn my sound on. First of all, I apologize that I'm not there in person. I did forget that we are an hour earlier today. I do have the updates for the Harbor Commission bank accounts. This was as of Monday, the 27th. So the Miffle utility checking account is at $381,603.28. Our January revenue as of Monday was just over 93,000. So that puts us at just about 91% of the budgeted income for the month. As of Monday, there were quite a few. I don't think that there was quite a few like manual deposits that hadn't gone through yet. So we should be pretty on track for that as of today. I did include the December reports. This includes the Miffle Harbor Commission or Miffle's report for the Harbor Commission, as well as kind of the balance sheet, December budget versus actuals and profit and loss. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has of that. The only thing that the December reports don't include, there's still the UPS December payment that we haven't received yet. So that is like a little bit of income that's not calculated into all of that. I have not discussed with Miffle yet about kind of the updates on like maintenance and stuff, if we could get more of a detailed report in that section, but I'll talk with Cal and Robin about that this week, so that hopefully we can have that for January's report. And then I know it's an agenda item later, but our certificate of deposit or the emergency repair fund, it does mature on the 2nd of February. And just kind of a reminder that we do have the loan interest payment March 15th, as well as I'm assuming the management fee coming up in March. So it would be nice to have that money into the utility account so we can allot it accordingly to where we might need it. The other thing that I have is I was sent, I believe Miffle is probably starting to get questions about kind of like, so like the Ashland Chamber of Commerce reached out to me, just inquiring about like past events that have been held and that Miffle usually accommodates for like the volunteers and whatnot. And I kind of just want to get on the same page with Miffle to where we're kind of all having like a unified answer for that question, that because I'm sure it'll continue to come up. I did just want to verify that pretty much there's as to what still applies this year. It seemed like last year we were sticking to everything that's been done in previous years. But I do want to just get on the same page with Miffle as to kind of what that answer should be moving forward.
Is there some question on that, Katie?
It is. So pretty much because is there gratis for any event that we've held? Where does that fall? Is there like a list, or should just the response be just the standard rates for everyone and everything?
I think it was the standard rates for everyone and everything except for emergency service vehicles that come over.
That's
Okay.
correct. We've discussed that. That was our decision last year.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to stick with that, and I will make sure that that is also what Miffle office is telling folks as well.
Somewhere there should be a written policy, I think, that outlines everything as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look into that.
That would
And then
include, sorry, that would include like the Ashland Chambers trailer that they bring over. You know, I mean, they'll pay, you know, regular fare on that as well.
okay. Okay, and then my next thing, it was just a brief update, because Glenn, Zach, and myself were meeting with both Miffle and the Bayfield school system after last meeting. I'd say it went very well, as far as kind of clearing up the confusion with the new system. I think we do still have a little ways to go, but I feel confident with Miffle and the school system's communication now. I think that will be a little clearer moving forward.
Katie,
Yes.
along the lines of having a written policy on the general gratis things,
Mhm.
could we come up with a written policy also on the students in the Bayfield School and include in that the safety protocol for, collecting the cards from the kids and that sort of thing, just so that we have something. I don't think we have anything quite that is in writing for all of that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk with Cal about that after the meeting. Let's see. Oh, just another quick update on the general liability insurance, because we were wanting to add, or have added the marine general liability policy with Robinson and Sons. So then the question was, based on James's review of our current general liability, well, does that policy overlap with anything that we have with Horton? Amy from Horton Group is amazing. She looked over all of it, and she doesn't see that there's any overlap. And she is reaching out to James just to verify. She didn't see any gaps or anything, because of adding the marine general liability policy, but she's reaching out to James just to verify that there aren't any gaps that she's not seeing. So ultimately we are completely covered and no gaps and no overlap with that. And then just so the Harbor Commission is aware, I talked with Robin this week about if they could provide kind of a 2025 like Miffle travel plan, because I know Cal is actually in Georgia right now at the PVA, and there's 2 other staff members there as well. This was included on the list that was provided like last August. But I've talked things out with Robin that I think they're going to provide that list. And I think that her and I have developed a system that will be a little bit better and not like, oh yeah, like this is the week that the PVA was going to be. It's going to be a little bit more of a like, hey, we're planning this now. I'll have it on the calendar. So I can verify with them, be like, hey, this is coming up. Have you already made plans? Who all's going? And that way we have we're working on a better communication further in advance so that we have the option to send someone if we want, or if we have any questions about it in advance. But yes, because I know we were wanting the sheets to be filled out in advance. But it seems like those are just being filled out with reimbursement requests with the details on it. I'm happy to ask for these in advance again, but I think that Robin and I can work out a system that, if nothing else, I can work with her to get that kind of paperwork to the Harbor Commission far enough in advance that we can plan ahead to send someone if we want to. And then the last thing that was on there was just the update for the schedule that Miffle had sent out that the ferries were running for the rest of the week, and that to contact Monday with updates. And that's all I had on my report.
I'll make a motion to put Katie's report on file.
Second that.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?, motion carries. Next up, 2025 schedule discussion.
I think we're a long ways away from a shutdown happening. My dad and I put up trees last Sunday and there was a consistent 8 to 10 all the way across up to the last tree, but that crack in Bayfield is not great, and the ice going up to the beach is only about 4 to 5 inches thick. After flooding it on Monday, pretty much all that ice collapsed, and it hasn't been cold enough to really freeze it. And now we're gonna get 3 to 6 inches of snow on Saturday, which will slow things down as well.
Current was, the wind was whipping.
And
It's crazy.
yeah, we had 40-mile-an-hour gusts out of the west, I think it was. Kind of opened up over by the South Channel too.
But there's no ice in the entire South Channel.
Yeah. It's all gone. Oh,
Schedule.
Do you have anything to add, Cal, or gut feelings on where we're gonna end up after going into next week?
I mean, at this stage, it's looking like almost a complete repeat of last year. You know, I can't really accurately predict much past, 4 days out. Going out a week or 2 weeks, it could swing massively one way or the other. But again, looking 4 days out and then looking at what's currently a week to 2 weeks out, a wind sled is possible. That's still a possibility. I feel again in my gut that there's really no chance of a ice road. We're last year we had the same problem. We're really starting to get, like I've been seeing, we're getting really thick ice on the island side. It's getting thicker. The warm temperatures don't make it go away; they just stop adding to it. But it's still there. So we again may have to revisit the 5 o'clock here. I think again next week we'll take a look at that and see are we able to continue being able to safely do that. But as of right now, again for this week I don't see it as an issue. And then this weekend we'll take another assess and be ready to kind of update on Monday as to what we're thinking. After this week, it is supposed to get cold. But, at this stage, I'd want to see -5 to, 10 degrees almost every day to feel like, okay, yeah, we're going the right direction. And I'm seeing, 20s, one day of 5, 20s, makes ice. It just keeps us in that zone, where there's a thin spot. And with current, with wind, with all the other problems, it just doesn't solidify up, which makes it so the wind sled can't finish that last leg, which keeps us running. So that's where I'm at.
Do we have any more on schedule discussion, or shall we move on to the authorization of transfer of certificate of deposit?
I did have just an update because I reached out to both Gary and Charlie Meach about kind of the request that they had. Gary is not back in the office until Monday, the 3rd. And then he is going to send me all the shows that they have scheduled so far and his specific requests on Monday. Charlie, however, did reach out, and I have kind of a request that like his requests for kind of it's mostly the summer season. It looks like his request would be that May 9th through October 19th schedule. And I'm not sure the best way to go about that. Should I send that request to Cal to see, kind of put it along there with the 7 PMs that we provided him kind of as a request last week or last meeting, to see kind of how we can make that possible.
See, he's looking for like that later boat on Sunday.
Well,
that
so yeah,
it?
so it's Sunday, but actually, so Monday, it's Sunday through Wednesday. And looking at the schedule, it's the Thursday, Friday, Saturday back to Bayfield. It has the 8:30. He's basically requesting an 8:30 Sunday through Wednesday as well. Kind of so for the full week. And their season is June 14th through October 4th.
I would certainly send it along to Robin and Cal, along with whatever you get from Gary.
Okay. Yeah, and so it's actually that schedule is the June 26th
You wanna look
through
at it?
September 1st. It's already, that shouldn't be an issue with that time frame. It's the time sections before and after. So I'll send that along to Cal, and we can move forward from there. But yes, it's a later boat in those kind of shoulder, the May 9th through June 25th and September 2nd time frame.
I mean, I think the commission generally would like to accommodate this if there's any way that the ferry line can do that with their staffing.
Okay, I'll pass that request along to Cal, like in writing, so it's a little bit easier to see what I'm requesting.
Anything else? All right, let's move on now then to agenda item 8, authorization of transfer of certificate of deposit.
I'll move that when the certificate of deposit matures, that we transfer all of that proceeds into the debt service fund with respect to the interest payment to the BCPL, and that the balance be transferred to the utility checking account. And the reason why not to put everything in the utility checking account is that the interest that service fund, I believe, is interest paying, and the utility account is not.
Do you need a recommendation to do that? Motion. I would make a motion to transfer those to the interest bearing account.
And the utility account.
Yes.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, let's go.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Hi.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, review and authorization of the Harbor Assistance Program grant agreement. And I believe, Cal, you wanted to meet on this when you return prior to us signing or approving anything?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's nothing new. There's nothing new in there. This is all things that we're familiar with, but, I know one question was brought up about payment, and I did talk to Katie about that, and I'd like to just make sure, that I've given you guys all the answers that you need to feel comfortable, and so that we're all on the same page, kind of moving into, what's the timeline look like? What commitments do I need from the Harbor Commission, and when do I need those commitments? Just so we're hitting the ground running. I've already started as much as I can before that's signed. So, I've got everything sort of lined up. I'm ready to put out bids here shortly. We're in a really good spot, but I can't officially start the process until that is signed. So it's, I definitely want to get on that sooner than later, but I really don't want to I really don't want you guys to not have a good idea of what I'm expecting of this project. So if you want to review it, and I don't know if anybody has any questions now that they would like to ask about the project. Um, yeah, I found out that Washington Island applied for it as well, and they weren't successful this year. We received almost 10% of the overall total allotted funds. So, it was, I'm glad we got it. It is competitive, and we were asking for a pretty big chunk of the pie. So for the entire state. I'm sorry, any questions?
Yeah, is this a reimbursement type contract? In other words, will the Harbor Commission have to front the entire 800,000 or whatever and then get reimbursed by the state? Or will they be administering the grant and just sending us a bill for our match?
So that is the way that I understand it, the latter there. That we will be able to bill them up to that, to the 800,000. Those bills can go directly to them. The last 20%, I believe we pay for directly as our portion. So I don't know if there's happens to be a bill that just goes over the edge, where it's 900,000 and we owe 100,000 of that, but it's all in one bid. I'm pretty certain that we can get that figured out, but we will be responsible, yes, for the 20%, and then the 80% will get sent directly to them.
I'm just worried, just concerned about the cash flow and, how we would come up with 600,000. That's the 227,000 is in the budget, but
Yep.
Harbor Commission's share. The other 600,000 isn't in the budget. And so if we needed to front that money, we'd have to figure out how we were going to finance that until we got reimbursed.
Correct. We don't have to front that. And just to be clear, that 800,000 number that's getting thrown around, that is not the total project. That is the portion that the state is paying. So in total, it's $1 million project. They're paying 800,000 and we're paying 200,000.
Thank you.
And yes, so we will not have to come up with the 800,000.
Good.
Well, we do have the ability to approve this right now.
I move we approve it.
Okay.
Great.
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It'll be signed and sent on then, Cal.
Thank you very much. I'll keep you guys updated, of course. Once this is in, that does open up, my ability to start bidding. Bidding will be held on Quest. If you're familiar with the government bidding platform, Quest, that is where the bids will be listed.
And when do you plan on starting the project? Hope to?
So yeah, that's a great, the hope to. So I've got everything really lined up. We've got a million things working in our favor, and just a handful of things working against us. The hope to is that I can have all of the plans and permits and everything in hand and ready to go this spring. That is the most ideal situation, and I feel we're currently on track to do that. I don't see as of yet any obstacles that may come up with large, changes in the government. Things can get sticky where permits don't come through at the rate that they might have last year. So that's the one thing working against us right now is the permits are not sitting on someone's desk because that's a part of. Now you've signed that. Now I can start, getting those things moving. I can get those bids going in. The engineers designing the plans to go to the permit process and so forth. So that is the goal, is to have this project done before June, no later than July of this spring, with a backup would be in this fall. So if we would be somehow unsuccessful, getting everything perfectly lined up in spring, we'd move the project to September, later, late September, that sort of thing.
Well, the one benefit is that the project will be done while the water level is low and not high. So,
That's incredibly critical. Yes. That in fact makes the project significantly cheaper. It makes it easier to get done, and it's going to make for a much better result. That's yes. So that is again why I'm going to be pushing very hard to get it done in spring, because that's when we're going to be at our lowest of the year, of course, which will, you know, every few inches that we get will help us immensely. And we are at a water level now. We're at a low right now that the project essentially can we can do everything above water. But if the water comes up, you know, 8 inches, which is again in the scheme of things is very possible. You know, that would definitely make the project more complex. We'd need you know, probably divers and some underwater equipment to, you know, to finish parts of the seawall.
Anything else? We move on to approval of bills.
We go on.
Yeah, we did.
has the issue with the property tax been cleaned up?
Yes, Max has been working with the appraisers both for the town, and he's also the appraiser for either the city or the town of Bayfield, and then he's reached out to the other appraiser for the other either city or town, I can't remember which one Steve does, but yes, it's all in order to be fixed for next year.
Perfect. I'll make a motion to
Sorry, I'll just note that this is only half payments,
okay.
right? Because you pay half now, half later, and I figured that'd be better for cash flow. Wait until we pay the second half of those payments until there's more money in the bank, as it would be in August.
I'll make a motion that we approve the bills of a total of $91,703.81.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Future agenda items?
I just wrote, and it's, I guess, to you guys, approval of the policy for school transportation, like, if you just review it.
Makes sense.
We are probably going to want to consider having a congressionally directed spending request into Senator Baldwin's office, and they are planning to open that window, I believe, in March. And so I think it would be good for us to have on our next agenda discussion with Cal about what that might be, and given the current political climate, whether we think that a new boat we should pitch as an all-electric again, or whether we might want to think about you know, some old technology.
Coal.
Yes.
Yeah,
Theme.
yeah.
Rowing. Viking, we'll go back to Viking age.
Yep.
Rowing does increase job growth, by the way. So there's a good
Yeah,
argument for
sure.
that. Yeah.
Full employment. Yeah, I think what we want to be sure we're not doing is talking about carbon footprint and some of those kinds of things, because that won't fly.
And then probably, hopefully, approval of sending the tariffs to the town board and railroad commission.
Yeah, good.
Great.
You want to further discuss schedule or wait until Nicole then.
It can be on the agenda,
I think it's just gonna be a week by week update.
But also for the
But also-
special
Oh,
request.
oh, the special request, yeah.
Yeah.
When do we think we need to meet again?
Either February 6th or February 13th are the days.
Be gone the week or yeah, I won't be able to attend the 13th meeting.
I think I'm gonna be gone the 6th.
Change the day of the week.
Did we go to Wednesday, the 5th?
You know, I
Is
could,
that give enough time to do the tariffs for the? No.
Yeah, that works for me.
It's
you want me to confirm? I'm not sure what time we're leaving on Thursday, the 6th. I might be available in the morning, but I'll have to check with Michaela and see.
We could do it at 8 again, I guess. At least for this next one.
at 8 a.m. Either the 5th or the 6th.
And if the tariffs aren't ready to be submitted, do we meet regardless?
I don't know what else we have to do.
There's not really anything urgent.
So I'd say otherwise we can move it to the following week. But Evan, you said you can't do the 13th,
No, I'll be gone.
so we could maybe do the 12th if that would be.
Yeah, it should. We're just gone for a couple days.
I will just put out there as far as like the schedule goes, Miffle has been receiving lots of calls about that, which they typically do this time of the year, but I mean, in an ideal world, kind of that's the scheduling for the rest of the year would be done by like mid to late February. So, because they still have to get everything ready to be printed on brochures, and not sure if that would require like meetings outside of just the weekly Harbor Commission meeting to kind of hash out details. But yeah, just the sooner the better, I think, for as far as marketing material and everything goes.
Yeah, and I'd love to comment on that. And so that's something we talked about a little bit at the last meeting. Is I 100% respect the position of the Harbor Commission. I heard it loud and clear. We want to accommodate some of these more unique situations, but I do want to make sure that I would like to sit down. I thought it was on the agenda for today. I just feel like I don't have it. Maybe I didn't see it, but like a subcommittee to help deal with the schedule. So I can meet and we can have back and forth and discussions and kind of go over options with the committee that isn't all constrained to this once or every other week or so, because there is, I mean, each one of these trips does add something. It does change something, and again, I think we can accommodate pretty much all of it, but it comes with a catch to some degree, and I just want to make sure I'm walking through each one of those so that when we agree, okay, this is the schedule, that we're all in agreement on. Okay, we're all signing off on these catches. We're all signing off on whether it's increased cost or potentially reduced service in other areas. That the Harbor Commission is fully aware of that. And I'd really like to go through step by step on some of those changes, just to make sure I'm communicating, the nuance of additional trips.
I think that once you see the request, that there's gonna be some information that Katie has from Gary and Lisa, then you can see if there is any things that you can or can't accommodate, and then we can go from there, I think. And so the early meeting, next Wednesday, I think will be crucial for us to be able to see if you guys are able to or not able to accommodate the request, and then we can move forward with how, which ones we will or not, or won't approve. Does that make sense?
I think he's
It does.
also talking about the full schedule for next year.
Right.
Some of the later votes throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, of course. So I mean, until you guys have looked at it, we don't know what we're agreeing or disagreeing to, right?
Right. And I mean, I've looked at a lot of like what has already been requested, and that's, and that's my issue is it's not as black and white to me as we can or we can't accommodate it. I mean, we can accommodate most things, really the winter is the only time that I'll kind of say, hey, I got to pump the brakes here. This is not safe, but outside of that in summer, there isn't the safety concerns. It's crew fatigue, it's cost, it's, crew staff availability, which are all, not yes or no's. And I just want to make sure that, when I say, hey, yes, we can run a 7 p.m., but it's going to come at, overtime for the entire staff for several hours, which is, going to make that trip cost this much. And we're going to be doing that over the course of a year. You realize that, the budget that we submitted was based off of, not that. And so that number may no longer be accurate. I just want to make sure I'm being as forward with those, those conditions as possible. And then saying again, if I say, hey, yes, could we run a 2 a.m.? Certainly we could, but I definitely would advise against it, for crew morale, staffing costs, those kind of things. But again, I want to work with you. If those objectives became very critical to the town, I want to find ways to make them work. I just want to make sure I'm, communicating those pieces. So that's all.
I'm not leaving until the 11:30 ferry on Thursday, the 6th, if we want to stick with that date.
February 6th, at 8 a.m.
Public comment B. Any secondary public comment?
And I'm sorry, one more thing I just would want to add to that if I could. Jay, if you, what you're recommending too, is that if the Harbor Commission would prefer that I just write it up as a proposal and just say, here's the cost, here's the anticipated this, and just submit it as a proposal to the Harbor Commission, I could do that as well. If you feel that would be more advantageous.
I agree with you that we can't make good decisions unless they're informed. So you've given us as much information about what increases would cost and or, like you said, crew issues. That's great. The more we know, the better, decisions, right?
Yeah.
I like that idea also. Good morning, Robin.
Hey, how are you? There it is.
Next up is parcel contracts discussion. And I think we want to go into closed session for this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
There was no public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was 9.
No, we switched it. But maybe you want to, we want to invite her to stay for the parcel. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, yeah, okay. I'll move that we go into closed.
Cal has her hand raised.
Go ahead, Cal. You're muted.
Sorry, just making sure I'm good to head out. I just didn't want to.
That's up to you. We're gonna discuss the parcel hauling contracts as part of the closed session. So if you want to stay, you're welcome to. If you need to leave, understandably, you can leave.
I think if you've got Robin there and if there's
Yep.
something that I could add value to, I'm certainly willing to help out after. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I didn't cut out too quickly. Okay,
Leave it
thank you.
in-
Yeah, I will head out.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are we still recording? Because we didn't do the roll call vote yet or anything.
No, you're not. You're still recording it.
Okay. I'll move that we go into closed session under state statute